Hi everyone, this is Adam Price.
And Emily Jane Acree.
And you're listening to the Relative Rhythms podcast.
If you are a tap dancer and podcast fan, you probably already know our guest today. We're so excited to interview phenomenal tap dancer, producer, choreographer, and the OG tap dance podcaster, Travis Knights. His work initiating conversations, recording interviews, and collecting oral history was an inspiration for our show. And we hope that we can live up to the high standards he sets with his podcast, the Tap Love Tour.
I was also really inspired by his work hosting the Jazz United Jam, a 2-year residency in Toronto where Travis hosted a weekly jam session aimed at connecting tap dancers with jazz musicians.
Travis has performed all over North America and the world, most recently touring his show Ephemeral Artifacts to India. We talk about that, his new Mars project, and so much more. It was an honor to interview Travis, listen to his stories, and to the wisdom he shared with us. We hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did.
And now, please welcome, from the Tap Love Tour to Relative Rhythms, Mr. Travis Knights.
Travis, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Pat. Thank you for the wonderful invitation.
Yeah, we're excited.
So we usually kind of start the conversation rolling by asking our guests how they first came to their art form and kind of how they decided to pursue it as a career.
Okay, wait. Let's do the first one. So I was a very shy child, and my parents were concerned, and they I wasn't speaking to anyone outside of like my mother, my father, my brother, and my auntie. Not all the aunties, just one auntie. And my parents were concerned, and so they said, we're social animals. This is not going to work out. So they put me in team sports. Hockey, horrible. Baseball, marginally better, but still horrible. But then I saw, Sammy Davis Jr. was ill, and all of Hollywood came out, and there was this like gigantic show, a tribute to a lifetime in show business. I think Eddie Murphy hosted the show.
Oh, wow.
Stevie Wonder was on the gig. Michael Jackson was on the gig.
Man.
Gregory Hines was on the gig. And
Wow.
I watched Gregory Hines. And I've been thinking about this story in a different context recently. Gregory Hines, a man, came out and was sincere with another man, and like tearful, and then he started tap dancing. So as a male child, I'm like, excuse me, let me be even clearer. As a male child with a Caribbean father, who I adore, and he adores me, it's fine. But there's just a certain amount of intimacy that's completely foreign. And so I'm watching Gregory Hines do this thing, and I'm like, oh, the tap dancing was fantastic. So I'm already entertained.
Mm-hmm.
But then Sammy Davis Jr. puts on his tap shoes, and he's sick and frail at the time. And he gets up on stage, and it's as if all of his sickness just like vanished and went away. And they had a conversation on stage with their tap shoes on. And from then on, I was like, this is... Yo, I know y'all are trying to put me in like soccer or basketball next year, whatever. Can we do this? And so lucky enough to have parents that listened, and
Wow, cool.
super fortunate that they put me in front of Ethel Bruno. That's my tap dance teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just fell in love immediately. As soon as I put on my tap shoes, like the world literally opened up for me.
Wow.
The like, as a child, you have like your radius that you travel towards. So I went to school back home, you went to the grocery store, you went to church, went to like daycare, like there's like, but now there's this, I'm at this tap dance studio. Oh, world literally opened up. And then
Wow.
it was everything to me. And after that, I was asked to do school presentations. And so I was being not forced, but encouraged in a different way to open up and let go of the shyness. And so I really owe tap dancing to, for like, I don't know, everything in my life. I married an Ethel Bruno student. Like my kids, it's all tap dance.
Yeah.
In terms of when I decided to become a professional tap dancer, Ethel invited Manhattan Tap
Oh, cool.
to Montreal. And so I was like, what, 12, 11, 12.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first time that I'd seen, professional. You could do this professionally. It was just like I was born and raised in the perfect environment, and very grateful for it.
So then you were connected to Manhattan Tap through Ethel, and where did your training go from there?
Yeah, I continued. So, like, Manhattan Tap's 1995. Oh, dog, don't do this to me. Watch this. This is crazy. This is bananas. Okay. This is where it gets exciting. So, Manhattan Tap is 1995 for me. I think maybe the year after. I know they Noise Funk, Bring the Funk opened in 95, but they went on Broadway, I think, in 96. Don't quote me. I don't know. That's why I tape my conversations, because I don't actually remember things correctly. So not soon after is my point. Not soon after Heather Cornell, Manhattan Tap, Savion Glover is just all over the place.
Yeah.
That show, Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, was sparked a revolution in tap dance that I'm not certain people like that weren't there understand or remember. I don't know what the wording is, but Savion, you couldn't escape. He was here, he was there, he was everywhere. I grew out my hair and like had little twists because I wanted to be.
Right,
I'm in Montreal, so I can't get to New York to see the show. So I bought the Broadway audio disc, and I would listen to the audio from the show while eating shredded wheat. So now when I eat shredded wheat, I think
you hear it
of Noise Funk, and when I hear Noise Funk, I taste shredded wheat. Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird association.
It's a core memory there.
It's a core memory. Also, by the way, he had like an ABC special, Savion Glover, and 1 hour special where he excuse me, he tap danced with SWV, with Kirk Franklin, with Stevie Wonder, Wyclef Jean, Puff Daddy, but what are you gonna do? It's different times then, y'all. It's a different time.
Wow.
But yeah, I was just like, my mind was exploding about the possibilities of where this dance could go. I was like, oh. Also, my teacher, upon the first couple lessons, gave me a VHS tape of Black and Blue. And so I start with Gregory Hines and Sammy Davis Jr., Black and Blue. I'm also seeing Jimmy Slide and Lon Chaney, and Bunny Brinks. I'm understanding that you can do this. You only get better as you get older. I'm like, this is so I know that I'm going to be at tap dancing my whole life, but a professional thing. This is what's growing inside of me with Heather Cornell and Savion Glover. Fine. Cut to June 30th, 1996. Gregory Hines does a show in Montreal. I think it was for the Montreal Jazz Festival. Once again, don't quote me. What are you gonna do? But he comes, does the show. Jimmy Slide opens for him.
Wow.
Diane Walker opens for him. Sorry,
cool.
Diane Walker opens for Jimmy Slide. Jimmy Slide opens for Gregory Hines, and Gregory Hines does a solid 45 minutes, the most solid 45 you've ever seen in your doggone life. I tell you what. So towards the end of his set, he invited all the tap dancers that are in the audience to come up on stage. And my teacher, one of the most valuable lessons she taught me was you never go anywhere without your tap shoes.
Yeah.
So I had my tap shoes.
Nice.
But I'm still shy. And my mother witnesses me not going up to the stage when Gregory called, and she leaned over and said, in your life, there are certain moments where you have a decision to make. And if you make the wrong one, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And then she sat back.
Some wisdom.
Said, So I walked up on stage. I'm I'm shaking. I'm 13 years old. My voice hasn't cracked yet.
Wow.
And there's a gang of tap dancers on stage with and without tap shoes. I have my tap shoes on. I'm lucky because I'm still a child, so I'm cute.
Right.
Winning.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gregory calls, hey, what are you going to do? Gregory calls me up. I walk onto the stage, beautiful wood. And I do something, and it's good enough to where the audience goes, "Oh, wow!" And then Gregory goes, "Hey, do something else." And then
Wow.
I stole a step from the movie Tap that Savion does. You know, when he's in the classroom and he does the pullbacks and the toe stands.
Yep.
Boom. So I did that. Gregory stopped me. He was like, "What?" And then I did something else. And then he said, "What's that step you did? Let me see. Can we do that step together?" And so we do the step that I taught him together on stage. Now in Canada, there's it's kind of like England, where we have like a national broadcaster. In England, it's called the BBC, and in Canada, it's called the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Their cameras were there, and they recorded that.
Wow.
And that night, it was like this national story. Oh, young prodigy realized his dream, tap dancing with icon master, Gregory Hines. And I kid you not, the next morning, I received like my first call for a legitimate paying gig.
What?
So from then on, let's go. So yeah, I owe my beginning as a tap dancer to Gregory Hines. I owe my beginning as a professional, quote unquote, tap dancer to Gregory Hines as well.
I can't imagine doing that at 13. Like if I struggle with a little bit of imposter syndrome. I can't imagine doing that now, but at 13, I would have been, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, but also props to your mom for like, not being like,
100%.
go up there, but like putting the ball in your court and being like,
right,
this is a choice that you're making, and sit with that,
right.
like, oof. Yeah.
Wisdom.
Thank God I heard her. Thank God. It's like none of it should have happened. Like there's many points on the journey to this whole story that could have been nope. But it really makes me believe in miracles, in fatedness, in purpose, and in the times when I'm racked with imposter syndrome. It forces me to, on a clear day, forces me to lean in on faith. Hey, the story's bigger than you can see. One more day.
Yeah. So I know you were kind of, you had such brilliant training from Ethel, and I know you hold that very highly. And I think your training probably was different than maybe today's. And I'm speaking, I only know about what is in my area. Today's kind of more current traditional studio style of tap dancing. And it's hard, I think, for studio teachers, myself included, to feel like we are honoring the dance, honoring the history, honoring the music, honoring all of those things, and shoving it into sometimes a 30-minute, which is insane to me. These teachers who have to teach 30-minute tap classes, I'm like, what do you even do? And still feel like you're not selling out, that you're still honoring the legacy of the dance and trying to impart any little bit that about the stories and the people and the history. Any thoughts on that, maybe from your training, how you embodied it from Ethel, or ways you use it now? I know you don't teach a ton, and you don't teach in a studio setting necessarily, but wisdom, which I get. Trust me, I get it.
No, I don't. I really. I hope I don't come off as this guy. What a dick. I think it's really important because tap dance. I'm lucky enough to get to interface with different forms, and I feel like tap dance suffers from a kind of a narrow view of how things should be, and there's a lot of reasons for that, which I hope we can get into. But it's important to me that tap dancers understand that they are more than, the solo performing artist, that we're accustomed to seeing. Like tap dancers, we need producers, we need writers, we need teachers, we need performing artists, we need choreographers, and these are all not the same people. If they are, if a person is able to operate excellently in these things, by all means, do you think? Wonderful. Thank you for being Renaissance people. Yes, we all need to be able and have the agency to do what we're here to do, which all serves tap dance. I just got back from India. I promise it's coming to a point. I just got back from India touring a show called Ephemeral Artifacts that I've been doing for a few years now. And a big part of the show was, like, towards the end of the show, I have this like loop station, and cool. I make this rhythm that's based on a clave, a 3/2 clave, and cool. I tap dance for a bit, and the rhythm hopefully sounds like a second line New Orleans vibe. Cool. And then I take out all the tracks except for the clave, and then I say, hey, this rhythm has a Spanish name that means key, but it comes from West Africa, and and then I add another layer of don't forget. That's just like loops as I struggle with my desire to be a tap dancer and the burden of being culturally active. So in the last show, I rebelled. I rebelled against the format of the show. I rebelled against I rebelled against what I thought my director, wonderful Brandy Leary, what I thought she wanted me to do. Prior to the show, she was sending me articles about rampant racism within India, involving the caste system. And there's a prominent dancer in her 60s that is being brought up on charges by the Supreme Court, Civil Rights Court, in India right now, who spoke down badly against up-and-coming 20-something-year-old dancer because he had darker skin. She said something to the effect of, like, she prefers the aesthetic of a fairer skin tone, whoop-de-wop. And my director sent this to me in order to make me feel like Ephemeral Artifacts and what we were doing in Ephemeral Artifacts, especially towards the end of the show, is relevant to Indian culture. Okay.
Yeah.
I rebelled against the show, my own show, because I remembered something that I had forgotten. When I was in my 20s, still living in Montreal, I was invited to jam with this band. They're called the Community Vibe Collective. And it's a group of like 73, at the time it was 73 musicians, singers, and poets. They didn't all jam at the same time, but every Tuesday night, a select few of them would get together, all under the helm of the great Jason on drums. So I did the first set there, and it was the type of vibe where you didn't have to explain what tap dance was. It was, they understood what was happening. So second set, Jason said to me, "Yo, can you start? Can you you tap dance, and then when you settle and hold a groove, then we'll build a song off of what you do." So I was like, "Oh, hell yeah!" So I started tap dance, and then found something settled, and I held it. And then the bass player came in, dum, 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 dum. And then the keys player put a couple of chords down, and I started to feel something that was rising from my stomach, from the base of me. And in my 20s, I hadn't felt anything like that before. This emotion, this feeling, this sensation. So I was like, what is happening? So I'm like Atlas. I'm holding down this groove. Bass player keys. I hear off the side the horn players discussing, what are we gonna do? Okay. And then on the other side, the poets and singers were. And and meanwhile, this thing is rising in me. The horns coming with. It's like something beautiful. I'm like, oh, this thing is rising. I'm like, oh, holding this thing down. I don't know what's happening. Blah blah blah. Finally, the drummer comes in. Jason comes in. Woo, bam. Holds the time. I start to tap dance. The singers come in with something gorgeous, and it's rising. I start to tap dance, and I tap dance my way off the stage, so I can calm back down. I wasn't sure if I had let the sensation go all the way up to the top of my head, my being. I don't know what would have happened. I was afraid. And I've been chasing that feeling ever since. The whole conversation, it's really important. The conversation about respect and paying dues, giving homage. I believe in it, but this is not why I started tap dancing in the first place. I rebelled against my own show because of how I was raised. I was raised to speak a certain way. I was raised to wear certain clothes. You don't eat that in public. That's what they expect of you. I was raised to be a kind of a cultural ambassador to my race. And here I am doing this show where I'm literally a cultural ambassador to this dance relative to my race. And I said at the last show in India, I said, the party done. I've been feeling so sad, so sick. So after my teacher passed away, I wanted to hang up my shoes. It was just, I forgot. I forgot why I danced in the first place. But in India, I remembered. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think the work of finding that sensation of connecting with music and musicians and people through music and dance, the work of transcending our physical reality and going into like a more spiritual place, an unsayable place, which is why we dance and play music. I think that's the work. At least that's my work. I say all of that to say that wherever you're coming from, I think the best thing that you can do is to be honest about where you are and where you came from. And wherever you found the generosity, the miracle, perhaps the joy in your dance, follow that, explore that, grow that, share that. And with that spirit of openness, of curiosity, of interest in whatever it is that you're interested in, I feel like that is the best thing that we can do. There are people that are historians. There are people that are like, nerdy podcasters. There's like information out there. There's the performing artists. Once again, the producers, we all have a part to play. And I think it's really important to lean in on community, wherever that you feel that you're deficient in. I promise you, it's somebody has it somewhere. Reach out to them. I think the less shy or afraid of doing the wrong thing that we can be, the more devoted we can be to the actual practice of the form.
This is the Relative Rhythms podcast, and you're listening to our conversation with Travis Knights. This episode in particular was an absolute joy, and it continued for almost 2 hours, making it a challenge to edit down. However, you can get the full uncut conversation filled with laughter, debate, and rabbit holes over on our Patreon. It's a great way to support our work. You can find us at patreon.com/relativerhythms. We are currently funded entirely by our listeners, and your support at any level is so appreciated. Don't forget to follow and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Thank you for tuning in, and now back to our conversation with Travis.
Travis, you've worked with a lot of musicians. Do you, the whole, this whole thing started was because Emily and I would have these conversations that were so disconnected between our different perspectives. How do you view tap dance in like a musical world? Like, do you separate the two as like separate art forms, or are you like viewing yourself as a musician or a percussionist?
I'm an aspirational musician. That's what I am. The when you say tap dance, I get confused because it's just like so many. It means so many different things to so many different people. And whereas like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like upset about that. I had to put out this podcast. Let's rename tap dance because this is what I
listened to that podcast and I absolutely loved it. I'm actually curious about if you're still.
Well.
Because we had Sandra Kluge on, and she calls herself a tap percussionist. She's very specific about that. And I know you were playing with the idea of only calling yourself a hoofer instead of a tap dancer.
Yeah.
Are you still
no,
just
like no. I'm a no. That's so 2018 or whatever it was. But no, I accept the muck, the confusion, the world of tap dance in terms of that, like as nomenclature. There's two things. So first thing I'll say is like before going to India, people from India were Indian to me. It's Indian. But then you go to India and the amount of ethnicities within India, the amount of languages, religions, musics, dance, cultures, like they are a universe unto themselves. And so tap dance, a universe unto themselves with dark parts, light parts, just like, the yin and yang, the whole thing's happening. And so I accept that in regards to tap dance. Like there's at a certain point last year, I was tripped out. I was watching a showcase, and for the first time in my decades of practicing this thing, but for the first time I recognized that, tap dance is really affected by the minstrel aesthetic. So I was reading this book, the Bill Robinson. It's the Bill Robinson book. It's the Bill Robinson biography. And within it, I was like, apparently, so a minstrel show has 3 acts. In the second act is called the olio. And the olio is where you have like a bunch of variety acts within the olio section of the minstrel show. So what we call vaudeville is the olio expanded to a full form show. Huh. Okay, so then the tap dance that is in minstrel shows, the tap dance that's in vaudeville, the tap dance that's on Broadway, it's all comes from this minstrel showbiz aesthetic. So I'm looking at this showcase last year, and I'm seeing number after number after number after number, this front facing, not necessarily smiling, but this front forward facing tap dance aesthetic that I'm tripping out, being like, it can't escape. We can't escape the minstrelsy, but we can. We absolutely can. Because what was the dance before minstrelsy? I think what it was is more closely related to tap dance as music than it is to entertainment. But it's all within the world. And so what I'm trying to do is to really shape myself into a musician. I did this 2-year residency at the Transat Club. We did the Jazz United Jam, and my whole goal was to reconnect the music with the dance. Fine. And every Sunday, get together with musicians. I would do the first 45-minute set with the house band, and then we'd open it up because I'm selfish that way.
Well, you're the host, right?
I was there because I wanted to.
That's what the host does. Yeah.
I wanted to learn. Fine. So for the first, I may be overstating this, but this is nice because torture is nice. For the first 6 months, it was awful. That was so bad.
Oh no.
So like I was tap dancing. Over this music. And I would sit down after the 45 and listen to the music and realized night after night that, oh, this music really doesn't need me. It was just awful.
Yeah.
So then something switched and I found this pocket and I'm playing in the pocket, and then it's just like it grew and grew and grew. And now I'm just so much more aware of what the dance can do as music. I'm curious about what kind of different taps can we put on our shoes to achieve a different tone. I'm curious about, the wood that we used, how big, how small the boards are, what other material can we put on the boards to create more of a sonic difference, a more dynamic range within the dance. I see tap dance as potentially as a spiritual manifestation of the music, and as such can add something really beautiful to the music. The real work for me is to figure out where I can be, where I will land as a musician, as a tap dance musician within the musical realm. I want to make an album or two or three.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but it's also daunting. We lost an incredible musician last week. His name is Casey Benjamin. He worked very closely with the Robert Glasper experiment, and when I was hardcore listening, there's like little pockets, little eras of music for me. But when I was hardcore listening to Robert Glasper, specifically the Robert Glasper experiment, the question that I asked then and that I asked today is, who are the dancers that can like hang with that level of musician? Like, who are the dancers that can not just hang but like contribute something that makes them a part of the band? And so I practice.
Yeah, I think it's so hard. And Adam and I had this conversation kind of early on because, I've always loved tap dance, but I definitely was raised like in the musical theater, that kind of vein, which I still love, still love it. And, Adam and I had this conversation of, well, why aren't you paying more attention to the music? Why aren't you training in the music? Why aren't you? And I'm like, well, because there's so many things to train in, right? And he's like, well, then why do you have taps on your shoes? Like, why are you making noise if that's not one of the priorities? And I was like, I don't know.
Shut to the heart. Yeah.
So it's but it can be intimidating because you feel like you get to a certain kind of place as a tap dancer, and then you try to hang with the musicians, and then you realize you're not at necessarily the same place in the music, maybe not. If you've been studying one way for, 30 years, and then you go with somebody who's just been studying the music for 30 years, you might not be at the same place, Yeah,
miles apart.
I think just coming to that realization is a huge step on your journey, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know what they don't know, and they're happy not knowing what they don't know. But to have that realization, I think that's huge. And that just having that realization that you, of all the things that you don't know that you need to learn, that you need to grow in, I think that just proves you're on the right path.
Yeah, just
Well, But now here we go to counter. Who's to say what's the right path? You know, to tap dance is this huge thing. Who's to say? You know, you say that you're a musician, right? You're like, everybody should study music, but like, you know, who's to say that that's somebody who's taking tap dance in a different tangent, right? This goes back to what is tap dance and what should tap dance be, right? Like, and who are we to say what that is? Like, you know, so it's hard. Long conversations for.
I don't think it's hard. Like, I hate these people. I hate these people. I'm about to be this guy. Oh, but like, understand, like, okay. I think I'm going to say two things. I think it's all good. And I think it's all good because I'm big into this text that I'm not supposed to talk about. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. It's like a Hindu text, and it's so chill. It's so chill. This warrior has an epic conversation with God, and it's about, you know, the right things to do and yada yada yada. But essentially, at the end of the day, everything leads back to God. So, like, the right path, wrong path. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm not supposed to talk about the book, because in the book it says when people are ready for it, they'll come to it. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. The people are on their own respective journey. Seeing, for example, tap dance as this big, gigantic universe. Yo, I'm living on this planet. I like the fruits of this planet. It's great. You like to live over there? Great. Maybe we can come visit sometime. I ain't got nothing against you. The second thing I'll say is there's too much actual work to do within wherever you land I think, litigate the kind of minutia of right and wrong compared to the work that it's going to take for me to become the musician that I need to be, to collaborate with the musicians and dancers that I want to collaborate with, like to make the human statements that need to be made, that can only be made through music and dance. Like, it's too much work. Like, what? I'm sure someone else can litigate that. Live and let live. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like, it's not that serious, right? Like, you do you and focus on you, and yeah.
But, you know, hey, listen, if you want it to be that serious, but by all means. Okay, there's room for that.
Just focus on your own journey. There you go.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah. That's like the. Now I'm gonna butcher this idea, but it's like the scope. I forget what they call it. Like the scope of, like, you can only control what you can control, right? So there's all these other things in the world, and why are we worried about all these other things if you can't actually physically affect any of those? So it's like, if you can focus on your small community or your small scope of what you can actually affect, eventually that might get a little bit bigger. And you know, eventually maybe it'll get a little bit bigger, and maybe you will solve homelessness. But if you're focused on, you know, not helping the homeless people in your direct neighborhood, you're never going to solve worldwide homelessness. Now that was a really terrible, probably example.
That's facts. There's this author named Stephen Pressfield. He wrote this book called the War of Art. Have you two read it?
No.
No.
Oh, do yourself a favor. Whether you pick up the physical copy or get the audiobook, lovely. Anyways, there's a big the War of Art is about the struggle, the struggle it takes to make anything. And he says the main in French it's défi. The main block for most people is I just left my brain. I guess you're gonna have to read the book. Oh my God. Yo, I turned 40 in August. It's just like, it's been like downhill. Wait.
Happy birthday.
It's just, you do a couple of Sudokus, you get it right back. But no, Stephen Pressfield, the War of Art, he talks about procrastination. He talks about what did you just say, Adam? It was like maybe 5-10 minutes ago. Imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
It was like all of these things are distractions.
Mm-hmm.
All like everything that it doesn't involve the art that you said you wanted to make. Distractions. Oh, this person's doing it this way. That person. Oh, this person's not going to like it because this. Distractions. There's something inside of you that said this thing is going to be beautiful. This thing needs to manifest in the world. But there's a bunch of other things inside of you too that aren't about that. The call for death versus the call for life. It's a real struggle within all of us. And in regards to art making, it's unbelievable. I say live and let live. As a maybe we get our teeth back. Maybe it's I'm being like dismissive. Maybe it's me being dismissive. Like ain't nobody got time for that. I don't got time. No. I'm busy. There are certain things that are very important to me that I think if I can do them excellently, then I can sleep at night. If I can be successful, which in my definition is like reach people and affect them, then that's just an incredible gift. I'm working on a show called The Mars Project. It's coming out.
Oh my gosh, tell us
that.
about it. The clips. I'm obsessed with these. I'm like, what is happening? The bungees, the whole thing. Tell us about it.
Very excited. The whole point, it's birthed from, this is something that I want to see. I've talked to tap dancers who have said, it sucks that I wouldn't have been able to be in Black and Blue because I'm not Black. Or I wouldn't have been able to be in like some of my favorite shows, like Noise Funk or something. I've been aware of the cultural divide, the ethnic divide within tap dance all my entire life. And I'm also Canadian, which means I'm really intimately hip to the local politics of where I'm from. And recently what's been uncovered in regards to the colonial powers and what they did to the indigenous peoples of this land is just like, it's heartbreaking.
It's
messed up. And so, my thought was, okay, the Mars Project. What does it mean to be Canadian? What does that mean? Because I know when I was growing up, the default of what it meant to be Canadian was like, this like blonde white dude, that Tim Hortons coffee and donuts and like, ice hockey. What else? Maybe some hunting of, whatever. I don't know. Certainly not me. And so if we're living in a contemporary society where we're trying to paint an even more high definition picture of reality, well, then what does it mean to be Canadian? If we're like renegotiating our citizenship, our neighborhoods, the way we're relating to each other, if this is all up for renegotiation, then what does it mean to be Canadian or Martian? And so the Mars Project is about the first human settlement on Mars. And necessarily, I'm pulling from people from all corners of the globe. So we have a Japanese tap dancer, we have an Australian tap dancer, we have an American tap dancer, we have a Canadian tap dancer. That's all I can afford. Listen, I would love to. I could barely afford that. Anyways, so the show is art. But in a way, I'm trying to have a conversation with the audience to say, hey, it's okay to discuss these things. We can make it work or not. Not too sure how the show ends yet. But it's at the very least, we can engage in the work of imagining ourselves and each other into the future. That's what the Mars Project is about.
That's really cool because I didn't kind of realize the back kind of story, the back premise to it. I just kind of assumed it was exploring what tap dance could be like on Mars.
Oh, that too. That
But
too.
the way you're kind of pitching it, it almost sounds like you're writing a sci-fi art piece. Like
Yeah.
it sounds very Star Trek to me. Like very like what what can the best of us do in the future if we do it intentionally?
Yeah.
And I've never kind of thought about like merging these sci-fi ideas with a performance art form before. It's really cool.
And especially there's two things about that. There's certain things about tap dance that we just accept in terms of a box that we're all in, and so a part of the difficulty for me with casting this thing is, well, who are the aliens? Like who like within the tap dance community, who are the people that are going, I'm gonna do this, like versus, this is what it is, and this is, how am I swinging, and the heart of it, like who are the aliens? So that was a first challenge. Second challenge, not just who are the aliens, but the first time that we played with ideas from it, one of the people in the room, they said, oh, I don't understand what the point is. All of the future is really controlled and created by the wealthy billionaires anyways. We're not going to really have any say in what goes on. We're not working with that person anymore. No. Good luck with that thought. I really do believe, and this is where it gets like serious. Even though I'm trying to be like, no, this is nothing serious. This is where it gets very deadly serious. If you have this thing, if you have this thing in your being that you want to do, please do it. Excuse me, wait. Let me. If you have this thing in your being that you want to do and it can help people, there you go. It can help people, it can contribute, please do it. Back to Stephen Pressfield, The War of Arts. Like there's so many things. If you see any kind of art from anyone, a miracle has happened, because there's so many things that are reasons not to do it. But my thinking is so dire. Things are so dire that for those who do have something in them that they can do, and they choose not to, the world gets darker. So please, please, unfortunately, you're gonna lose friends. You may disappoint your parents. I don't know what it is, but whatever the sacrifice is that needs to be made, please, we need you. No pressure.
Right. No pressure.
No pressure. Really, no pressure. There's so many things that can fail. But the Mars project is by far the biggest thing I've ever done, and there's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many things that will go wrong. So if we get to put it up on stage, miracle. If people like it, miracle. A lot of things that can go wrong. But that shouldn't stop me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not a reason to stop. You keep going. And if it is a failure, hopefully I survive long enough to learn the lesson from the failure and move on to the next thing that will benefit from the failure of whatever the thing is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You gotta find the lesson to be able to go to the next thing and not let it drag you down, but see it as a success for what it was, as opposed to even claiming it was a failure, right? Like, what did I learn from my failure? Well, no, it wasn't even a failure if you learned something from it and you are living the next day. Like, if you made it through and you are willing to, still have those conversations, or still put your shoes on, or still face the music, or still, then it was in and of itself a success because it got you further along in your journey. And it's hard to not feel like, well, that failed.
Yeah.
Right. But in and of itself, if you faced the music the next day, it was just another step in your journey of, like you were saying, Travis, whether it's, divine or spiritual journey or whatever it is that path that you're on, it's reminding yourself it's just the next step in the journey. And, it's not even if it failed.
Yeah.
It's not a failure.
Yeah. I was young and spry, and there was like open audition call for Stomp in New York. So I was still living in Montreal at the time, and I drove down on my little put. I was very excited, and got into the room, the theater, and was working on these cool rhythmic things. I was like, this is so cool. Of course, there were a lot of tap dancers there. It was always great to talk with other nerds, and so I made it to the end of the process, and one of the producers comes up to me and goes, oh, wait. Are you Canadian?
No.
I go, yes. He goes, we don't sponsor Canadians.
No.
So I drove back. It's like, I think it's a 9-hour drive.
Oh, man.
Because I was at the end, yo. So I drive back. I'm feeling so sad. And it's like nighttime. It's like everything's closing. So sad. And there's like a patch. There's a patch of road between New York and Montreal, right before you get to the border. And I stopped the car on the side of the road. I got out and I looked up at the sky and I saw the vastness, without light pollution, the vastness of the cosmos. And I understood, oh, you're upset over this small, with all due respect, Stomp is one of the most wonderful percussion-based shows I've ever seen. It's beautiful. It has a legacy. This is not about disrespecting Stomp, but it's about putting perspective in terms of what Stomp is and what's available to us all if we identify with the cosmos. And I was like, oh, abundance. That's the thing. Oh, okay. Got back in the car and like right back on. I was like, because really and truly, it was a great experience. It was met a lot of great people that I worked with later. Like seeds were planted. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, keep going. That's the point. Keep going.
All right. Well, before we cut ourselves off, Travis, is there anything that you would like to share about upcoming projects or ways we can support you or ways our audience can support you, where we can find you, all of those things?
Listen to the Top Love Tour podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support, you can find us on patreon.com/Travis Knights. I would like to, more than anything though, thank you for inviting me to speak with you. We've been like communicating back and forth online. It's been lovely, and this has been lovely. I want to encourage you, with anything and everything you do in your future endeavors. As we spoke about, it's not easy. So I consider, as I'm getting older, my peers are falling off. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's getting more and more, no disrespect to like anybody. It's hard.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you. I think it's cool. I think we need more conversation. Whatever ideas that you have, go for it. Because if you don't do it, it won't get done.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. This is great.
Yeah.
You've been listening to our conversation with Travis Knights. We had to cut almost half of the interview to keep it at an hour, but there was so much more to this conversation.
You can listen to the full unedited episode, including where he starts interviewing us, on our Patreon. And while you are over there, check out Travis's Patreon as well to support all of the incredible work he is doing. Patreon.com/ Travis Knights, Knights. By supporting his work, you also have access to hundreds of hours worth of oral tradition and stories. That is an education in and of itself.
You can learn more about Travis on his website, travisknights.com, and you can listen to his podcast on all the streaming platforms if you haven't already.
We are so grateful to Travis for his time and the love he shared during this interview. Travis says that tap dance has given him so much, but Travis Knights has also given the tap dance community so much in return. His attitude of abundance is clear and is a good reminder for us all. We wish him the absolute best in all of his upcoming projects.
Check the show notes for all of his links as well as ours. And while you're at it, don't forget to follow, rate, leave a review, and send this episode to a friend.
Our theme song, For the Love of It, was written by Adam Price. The mid-roll music today was Adam's tune, Yo Quero Você, and the closing music is his tune Storyville, both off of his album House Ghosts.
Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next episode.